And we should be good to go.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Deal, and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the March 10th, 2026 MFRAC, Municipal Financial Recovery Advisory Committee. I am VJ Kapoor. I have the honor of serving as a receiver for the City of Chester. Joining us, as always, is the Honorable Mayor Stefan Roots, Mayor of City of Chester, the Honorable Councilman Shaquan Davis, a council member at the city. Ms. Kelly Diaz, who is appointed by Delaware County, Mr. Andrew Sheaf from DCED, Mr. Jacob Polikov, who is my special assistant, Mr. Cody Deal, who is my executive assistant, and joining us today as our guest is the fire commissioner for the city of Chester, Commissioner John Paul Shirley. So good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Right, good afternoon.
Yeah.
And just before we get going, Cody, are we still live? I got some kind of notification on my Facebook Live that there may have been an issue.
Yep, it is still live on the feed I am seeing. I think
Very
we
good.
should
Okay.
still be good.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Sorry about that, everybody. Just want to make sure we're actually live streaming here. We will start with any public comment received and circulated. Mr. Dale, any public comment that you've received?
So we have not received any public comments since the last meeting. So I don't, as always, would just like to continue to encourage the public to reach out to the committee. The best way to do so is through the email address info@chesterreceivership.com. Again, that is info@chesterreceivership.com.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Deal. What we have today is like we've done with several other city departments, is to be able to bring the department head this time for the fire department here and to talk a little bit about what the fire, learn a little bit about who he is and about the department that he represents. Before we do that, I just wanted to open up to the committee. Any announcements that any of the committee members would like to make? Okay. Seeing none, I did need to make one quick statement here regarding an issue that I know has been making at least some news regarding some of the court decisions that are going on in the bankruptcy matter. And so I just want to, before some of these stories come out, I just want to make read one quick statement here regarding kind of our take on what we think this matter really means. And the punchline is we don't think it's a huge issue. So this is just a statement again. Wanted to read here. The U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania issued a procedural ruling on March 3rd, 2026, that focused on whether the Chester Water Authority's appeal from rulings by the U.S. Bankruptcy Court on the turnover of CWA records to the City of Chester, and whether the limited and confidential dissemination of those records by the City of Chester should proceed or not. While the district court granted leave for those appeals to proceed, there was no substantive ruling on the merits of the case. Moreover, the appeal itself is unlikely to proceed on the merits, and we expect that the appeal will be sent back to the bankruptcy court to address document production issues in view of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court's recent decision. So we do expect several bankruptcy related rulings on some of the appeals that CWA made in light of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court's rulings. This is one of those which, frankly, was no surprise to anyone who's been paying attention, and frankly, was a simple procedural ruling. So, with that, let me focus now on really what our main event here, and that is Commissioner Shirley. So, Commissioner Shirley, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon, receiver.
It is good to have you here. We'll talk a little bit about kind of your background here. I wanted to note for the group though, and also for the public, if you didn't know over this. Now, Commissioner Shirley, Commissioner, how long have you been with the Chester Fire Department?
I've been with the department a little over 16 years.
16 years. Okay. So at one point, and many of you who have been following this, you may actually remember Commissioner Shirley actually served as our interim chief of staff slash city manager. And we asked him to step in at a time where we needed a little bit of help, and he was willing to do so. I think he worked some additional hours, and he did a great job. I really want to say he stepped into that role, did a fantastic job. Mayor, did you want to add something there? No, you didn't. Okay. Um, But so not only has he served as the fire commissioner, but he was also thrown in the fire to work on a variety of different issues. And again, he did a fantastic job there, Commissioner. Appreciate that, and wanted to give you that recognition. Um,
Thank you, receiver. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the trust that you guys placed in me for filling that temporary role. I guess I'm used to managing fire scenes which are chaotic, so going into City Hall not a problem to manage those that kind of chaos.
yeah, yeah. Well, glad, glad you made it out of there okay. So tell us, like, so you've been with the department like 16 years. Like, how did you, like, where are you from originally? You're not from Chester, right? Like, where are you from?
No, I'm not from Chester. I was actually my father was a college professor. I was born in Iowa. I lived in Indiana and then Massachusetts. My parents are originally from the Philadelphia area, and it probably wasn't until I was about 12 or 13 I moved back to Philadelphia. Um, yeah, so I'm not a local to Chester or Delaware County, um, but I do consider Chester and Delaware County my home now.
Yeah. So
Um,
how did you get to Chester?
well, and I know this. Well, I guess let me say, I was as a child, I always wanted to be a firefighter. I had an uncle who was a firefighter, and it was something that was always I was interested in as a child. But when I got to high school, I discovered other things. I learned how to drive. I started working part time, and I kind of really forgot all about the fire department. And after high school, I tried college. I worked a bunch of different odds and end jobs. You name it, FedEx, Krispy Kreme donuts, Dunbar Armor. Really didn't want to know what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I was working at a mortgage brokerage doing loan paperwork at the time, and then a fire inspector came in, and I got to talking to him, and I started volunteering, and when I started volunteering, when I was about 27 I realized that the fire service was my calling. Um, and I started to pursue. Again, a lot of Pennsylvania relies on volunteer fire departments. There's very few municipalities that have career fire departments, and the city of Chester is one of them. I happened to take. I was taking written tests. For Philadelphia, Chester. I tested down in DC, and the city of Chester was that you guys were the first ones to call me and offer me a job. So I jumped right on it, and I've been here ever since.
Oh wow. So Chester was your first so you've been here your entire career as a firefighter.
Yep. Yeah, this is the only place I've ever been a career firefighter. I mean, I've worked part-time some other places. I also have a background. I'm a paramedic, and I've worked for 911 EMS agencies. But no, in terms of as a career firefighter, Chester has been my one and only spot. And I hope to make this my one and only spot. I'd like to stay here through retirement, which is God willing a couple years away. And yeah, still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. So we'll see where the road takes me.
Yeah, so you said as a kid, like you wanted to be a firefighter. What, like, because your dad's a college professor, right? So that's an interesting, like, sort of difference, right? Like,
Yeah,
what was it about firefighting as a kid, if you can remember, that appealed to you?
I think just the same thing with every kid. You see the fire trucks and the lights and sirens, and it's just the whole action of it. I guess I was just drawn to it. And thankfully I was fortunate enough to rediscover the fire service and be provided the opportunity to make this my career. And I owe a lot to the fire service. I owe a lot to the city. I owe a lot to where I started, volunteering at. It's allowed me to live a very successful and happy life.
Yeah. So talk to us about sort of your career progression at Chester, right? So you start when you join a department, right? You join basically as like a at the basic level, right? As like a basic firefighter. So how talk about sort of your career here at Chester? How did you progress in the ranks?
Yeah, not a problem. So when I was hired for this through the city of Chester, you're required. Every fire recruit is required to go through a career fire academy. Chester, we've been sending our firefighters to either Philadelphia or Wilmington to attend those fire academies. I was fortunate enough to attend the Philadelphia Fire Academy. I graduated in 2009, and I started in September of 2009 working as a firefighter for the city of Chester. Through the union collective bargaining agreement. You have to serve a certain amount of years as a firefighter before you're eligible to test for promotion. I took a promotional test, and I was lucky enough to pass that promotional test, and there was a captain's position available, so I was promoted to the rank of captain. I served in that capacity for about 3 or 4 years, and I had the opportunity to serve as the department's training officer. So I moved over off of the street into the office. And again, based on the CBA and the opportunity, I took a promotional test and I was promoted to battalion chief. I went and served back on the street on a platoon for a couple of months, and then my predecessor, Commissioner Rigby, was starting to plan his succession because he only had a couple of years left in the department. So he asked me if I wanted to serve as his deputy, which I took on in January of 2023, I believe. And some things changed in his timeline, and he wound up um, retiring a lot sooner than he told me he was going to. So he kind of threw me in the hot seat. But no, and I think it was August of 2023. It was the administration, both the current and the incoming administration. I believe, Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe you took over in January 24 or sometime in 23. Yeah, January 24. But I had spoken with you and Mayor Kirkland and now Mayor Roots had both both wanted me for the job. So I was moved into the commissioner spot and been here ever since.
Great, 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 great. Um, so Commissioner, it's good to know a little bit more of kind of your background. Usually when we have these conversations too, we'll talk about, kind of what the department looks like. And what the good timing is right now is Commissioner Shirley a couple weeks ago provided a 2025 year in review to City Council, and so. He actually has a presentation that he's streamlined a bit for us today and for the public. And so I am going to work the slides for him. But I'm hoping that Commissioner Shirley can kind of take us through, and this will be helpful to know a lot about kind of the some of the stats about the fire department. It's every fire department I tell you is does a great job of keeping statistics. They always do. And Commissioner Shirley's got a lot of that, and it will also talk a little bit more about kind of like what the department does, and really the important role and the unique role that the city of Chester's fire department plays in Delaware County. Because up until recently, Chester was the only 24-hour, 7-day a week, fully professional fire department. Upper Darby, I believe, just became more recently, but for a very, very long time, Chester was that was that fully 24/7 fully professional fire department, and as a result, they've got a pretty unique role here in Delaware County, and they are looked to provide some unique services across the county. And and I think again that is something that Chester should have a great deal of pride in. It's something that maybe people don't really know about Chester and not know about the fire department. And not know about some of the things that this community again provides to the greater region here in Delaware County. So, Commissioner, let me go ahead and I will go and I will share my screen here. And you all can tell me whether you see what I got up there. Is that we good to go
Yep,
over there? Okay,
you're good to go,
fantastic.
receiver.
All right, fantastic. So, Commish, why don't you take this away?
All right, so we'll jump right into it. So 2025, the department had a little over 2,800 calls for service. We do average the last several years between 2,800 to 3,000 calls a year. So we're right down the center line there for it. 139 of those responses, though, were out of the city or mutual aid responses. We're surrounded by Eddystone, Parkside, Chester Township, Marcus Hook Trainer. So there are sometimes, especially during the day, during the week, these departments are primarily volunteer, and most people are at work during the day, during the week. So their ability to respond out to calls during those times is a little more difficult. So we support them in that role. But it's a two-way street. There's a lot of times we'll have multiple alarm fires here in the city, and a lot of municipalities, volunteer departments from outside of the city come in and help the city out when the incident is more than we can handle with on-duty personnel and even sometimes callback personnel. So as much as we help them, they help us out. I would say they probably help us out a little bit more. The incidents that we're going out for, like fire alarms, things of that nature. Some serious incidents, but more often than not, um, just day-to-day types of responses. Uh, in 2025, we had 269 fire incidences. So anything from car fires to building fires to careless cooking. 661 were rescue or EMS type incidences, and we'll kind of delve into those numbers a little bit more. But a majority of our calls, I mean, about one-third of our calls, are false alarms. And a false alarm it's kind of a bad way to look at it. It's basically there was an alarm that there was possibly a fire, but it was unintentional or accidental. Someone doesn't know how to cook and they burnt their dinner and it set the smoke detector off, or they were taking a shower and there was too much steam and the steam accidentally set the alarm off. So it's not that the alarms aren't working, it's just they are very sensitive. So there's also some alarms that uh, you know we've all been in school. A troublemaker pulls the fire alarm. We exit it. So there are some malicious calls that are included with those false alarms. But even though they're false alarms, there was a reason that those alarms activated. So we always respond and we treat them seriously. Um, 4 minutes, 17 seconds from the time that the fire department is dispatched to the time that we are arriving at your front door. So we are there well within national standards. So, as I said before, we had 269 fire incidences. Of those 269, 57 were actual structure fires. Um, Again, some of them might have been minor fires where, we were able to put them out in 10, 15 minutes. And then there were some other major ones that, might have taken an hour or two to put out. Of those 57 structure fires, and that's, again, a little bit more than one a week. And it's weird. We might go a couple weeks without one. And then all of a sudden, in the span of a week, we'll have three fires. But out of those 57 structure fires, 12 of them were extra alarms. So basically, the fires were bigger than what the on-duty personnel could handle. So we had to recall off-duty personnel and also request mutual aid from surrounding municipalities. Sadly, this in 2025, we lost three of our residents on March 4th. Jennifer Patterson lost her life to a fire. And then on November 19th, there was a fire that occurred that ultimately would take the life of Sayer and Umbria Red. Um, so just it was a difficult year for for the residents, and it's a horrible horrible thing. Um, but yeah, so moving on, those some notable extra alarm fires. Next slide, please, receiver. On
Sorry.
on Thanksgiving Eve, the Immaculate Heart of Mary at Second and Norris Streets. We had a three-alarm fire there um, in a vacant church. Uh, it was probably about 12 hours till we had the fire under control, and 24 hours until the fire was completely out. So we still had crews there operating on Thanksgiving morning. And then again on Christmas Eve, on the um, what was it, 900 block of West 7th Street, we had multiple row homes that were on fire. I think there was about 7 or 8 families that were displaced. Ultimately, 3 or 4 rows were lost on Christmas Eve. But we had a lot of people reach out to drop off and help out, the families that were displaced. Red Cross is always a great partner with us, and we were able to help those families out. And luckily for both of these two fires, there were no injuries. So that's I'm always happy. It doesn't matter when it happens. It's not great to have it on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, but it's not great to have it any day of the year. But as long as no one is hurt, that's the most important thing. Um, Moving on, the rescue incidents that we had. As you know, VMSC is our primary EMS care provider. We went out and assisted them 288 times, whether it be helping them lift a patient up or doing CPR for a cardiac arrest patient. 313 were motor vehicle accidents. Uh, 217 had people that were injured, and seven of them we actually had to use the jaws of life to cut people out of the cars. Um, to your one question a little bit earlier, receiver. So we are not just a fire department. We don't just put out fires. We're an all hazards department. Whether it's any type of technical rescue, be it swiftwater rescue, high angle rescue, trench rescue, hazardous materials. If it's not a law enforcement issue, chances are the fire department's going to be involved. So we have to train all of our firefighters to handle all these different types of situations. In 2025, our Swift Water Rescue Team got their final certification in ice rescue. So we're now basically Swift Water technicians, and we can respond to any type of surface water incident, whether it be a swift water, a boat, or any type of ice rescue. And again, we train for these things, but in reality, we see these things in the city all the time. Next slide, please, receiver. So these are actually photos from uh, incidents that we've had here in the city. You all know that when we get those torrential rains, certain areas of the city will flood out. I believe it was 2 years ago. Unfortunately, we lost a young girl in Chester Creek. That's actually at the end of the anniversary at the end of this month. So our firefighters have to be trained and equipped to prepare for these types of incidents. Again, moving on, not only do we have to deal with swift water rescue, but we have to deal with rope rescue or hazardous materials types of incidents. So we train for these things because in the reality, next slide, please. We encounter these incidents in real life. There was a woman who had driven her vehicle at there's a kind of like a ravine at the end of 22nd Street where it becomes McDade Boulevard. She had driven her car down the ravine, and we had to send firefighters down the cliffside, on rope to retrieve her. While knock on wood, we haven't had any major hazardous materials incidents happen here in the city. There are a lot of industry here in the city. We have the Northeast Corridor, which has a lot of rail that transports a lot of hazardous materials. But 1978, February 2nd, 1978, was the Wade dump fire, and that was right here in our backyard, and it actually kind of set the tone for how fire departments would handle hazardous materials incidents. And it kind of wrote a lot of the federal regulations regarding hazardous materials transport and disposal. Wade Dump was actually one of the first Superfund sites. So a lot of history back here, in our backyard. And we were kind of the start of it. So it's pretty interesting. The county has a hazardous materials incident team. And I want to say probably about half of the team is made up by Chester firefighters because we are the only 24/7, 365 career department. Upper Darby did just move to that model by picking up weekends, but they're also supplemented by volunteers. And I give the volunteers all the credit in the world. These are people who take their time away from their family and are not reimbursed for going out and doing this job. But the city of Chester, we are 100% career. We have people here that are paid and trained to handle these types of situations. So the very best protection for the city of Chester.
All right, Commissioner, let me ask you in terms of this, like, so you talked about basically the hazardous response group. Like, what are some of the other, sort of key areas that the fire department plays in the county, right? In terms of sort of the specialized stuff that you guys have.
So I want to say the only in terms of county deployable assets, it's our Swiftwater Rescue Team. There are multiple departments that have Swiftwater Rescue Teams, and we're kind of broken up by regions, and we kind of respond out as like a task force. But what I will say is that when we do have weather events predicted, surrounding volunteer companies will kind of stand up and the volunteers will kind of staff the station so they're able to respond. The difference between us and kind of like Upper Darby is we have people that can respond 24/7. So if there was on a beautiful day like today in a blue sky day, if there was some type of incident, they could call us and we could basically respond immediately and kind of get out there and get to do that. So the fact that we have people here 24/7, 365, that we're not relying on volunteers, that we have these people that are specially trained in these disciplines. And it's only going to be expanding. This year we have some advanced rope rescue training that's coming, and we're actually going to start getting into confined space rescue. which is a whole other set of hazards. But we're going to be conducting all that type of training and just furthering the response capabilities of the department. Again, we are an all hazards department. We just don't put out fires. If the only thing we did was put out fires, um, we'd be sitting on the couch a lot, twiddling our thumbs. And I like to think of us as an insurance policy. You got to pay the insurance policy, but God forbid you need it, we're there.
Right. But one of the things I think it's also, again, I just want to just pause here for one other thing is, if we look nationally, the number of structure fires has declined, over the years, right? If you look kind of from the national area. But
Yes.
one of the things that I think is different here in Chester, at least that I've observed, is that there are a fair number of working fires here in Chester, right? And when we call working fires, we're talking about the ones, it's not just someone, burning something on their stove. It's stuff that requires, that causes some pretty significant damage. That is one of the differences here that we do see in Chester, right? Is just the number of actual structure fires. Certainly compared to, if you kind of look at it, and I haven't done this analysis, but in I would say some suburban communities, it's much different, right? It's much different when you're kind of in an urban situation, especially when you've got older housing stock.
You're 100% correct in saying that. I mean, back in the day, Chester used to burn two, three houses a day. And the fire department, we're in the unique position. We put ourselves out of business through fire prevention. We're going out and teaching people how not to cause fires. So, we're kind of working ourselves out of a job. But you are correct. When you look at most areas, the amount of fires that we go to are much higher than other areas. So we are a busier department. That actually kind of attracts firefighters coming here because they actually get to do their job.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
no,
I was gonna
I
say,
was going to comment on this.
yeah, you have you got industry as well here, right?
Yeah, so last year we also completed it was an industrial rescue. Again, we have a lot of industry. So we had the Montgomery County Community College come in and teach us an industrial rescue class, and it just taught our firefighters, hey, look, you get someone trapped in these unique situations. How do we kind of get them out? And you kind of got to think outside of the box. We're problem solvers. If there's an issue, you call us, we show up, and we figure out how to get you out of your issue. So that's why they call us for the cats and trees. So, um, one of the other things, though, is when you look at firefighters, we come and save people, but who saves firefighters when we're in trouble? A couple years ago, Commissioner Rigby got a $55,000 FEMA grant, which allowed us to purchase. They're called bailout harnesses. They're harnesses with some rope systems that, God forbid, a firefighter will become trapped on an upper floor and his exit's cut off by fire. They're able to get to a window and kind of attach this rope system to the windowsill and bail out and kind of lower themselves and get themselves out of a dangerous situation. So we were able to outfit every firefighter for the city with one of these bailout systems, and we did a train the trainer, and then we delivered the training to all the department. And we're in the process right now of trying to get the every year we need to do refresher training on this. Our skills, if you don't use them, you lose them. So we're going to be doing some refresher training on this very soon. One of the other things, and we had a training package through Bucks County Community College where we could deliver certain programs. We had a RIT rapid intervention team class, and this is basically firefighters going in and saving firefighters. Huge thank you to the Chester Housing Authority. They had some properties that were slated for demolition, and we were actually able to go in there, fill the buildings up with fake smoke and kind of operate in near zero visibility and cut holes in the floor and pretend, hey, how do we rescue a firefighter who might have fallen through a floor? Just all these different types of techniques. We learn basic techniques when we go through the academy, but this was a little bit more. The picture on the left, we'll talk about in a couple slides, but that's an actual the image that you see through. It's called a thermal imaging camera. It picks up heat signatures, so you could be in a smoke-filled room, not see the hand in front of your face, but you look through that thermal imaging camera, and it's going to be able to tell temperature variations, and you're going to be able to see again the outline of figures, and they come in a lot very handy when it comes to search and rescue. But yeah, so it was a great class to have. Additionally, Commissioner Rigby had obtained a grant, and part of that grant was to purchase placards. There have been firefighters in numerous cities that were killed when they were operating in vacant buildings that were on fire. And as you can see from the top picture, that building looks pretty much intact, like there's nothing wrong with it. But you go around the back, you can see the entire building is gone. And firefighting, it's a high stress environment. But the city has, or what the fire department has done, is we've gone out, we've identified these buildings, and we've placarded them. So even though we have these buildings in a digital system, when we're dispatched, we can see those notes. These placards are just a fail safe that, God forbid, it's 3 o'clock in the morning and we didn't look at our digital readout. That placard is going to be staring us in the face saying, hey, you know what? This is a danger. You do not want to go in there. So just some added safety to our firefighters. 2025 is a great year in terms of apparatus. We were able to purchase a 2025 pumper apparatus to replace one of our aging fleet. And receiver, I don't know if you want me to touch on it here, if you want to talk about it a little bit later about our fleet.
No, go for it now.
Okay, so when I started the fire department, I started in 2009. We had two brand new fire trucks, but all of our reserve apparatus were from the 80s or 90s, and the national standard for the replacement of fire apparatus is 15 to 20 years. Year 15, you should be putting them into reserve. Year 20, you should be getting rid of them. The problem is that that's for fire departments all across the country, from very, very slow departments in the suburbs and the country to busy urban departments. When you look at when you should be replacing them in the urban setting, is 10 to 12 years. Those apparatus should be going to reserve so they can stay in reserve for about another 8 years, and you'll get a maximum life out of them. Unfortunately, again, just due to the financial constraints of the city, we had to buy used apparatus. We had to buy. We weren't able to regularly replace apparatus, and which is what you're supposed to be doing. And not only that, the maintenance that should have been performed on those apparatus weren't performed just because of budgetary reasons. So we had an aging fleet, and even the fleet that we had, needed significant repairs. And thankfully, with the city, the fire department came to the city, to the receiver. We explained it, and you guys have been 100% supportive in making sure that we get the equipment that we need. Unfortunately, it's just because, like everything else in the city, we're playing catch up. And these trucks are $1 million plus a piece, and it's just it's going to hurt now. But once we get into that regular apparatus replacement cycle, it's just like, okay, every couple of years we got to put a couple bucks aside, and it's going to get a little bit better. CETA was able to purchase a new command vehicle for us, which was great. And again, we came to you guys. We explained the situation we're in. We have a ladder truck that will be 30 years old in a couple years. We have another ladder truck that's getting on that 12-year mark. And you guys listen to us. And at the end of this year in 2026, we're going to be taking delivery of a new ladder truck. And I think there's a picture of the specifications for it. We had a ladder committee get together. They built this truck for the city of Chester, and all the apparatus that we're buying now are being bought for the city of Chester. Like I said before, we would buy used fire apparatus, we would buy demo fire apparatus because they were cheaper, but you guys are really making the investment in the fire department that needs. The thermal engine cameras, same thing. It allows us to rescue people quicker. We're able to see through that smoke. They're about $1,000 a piece, and the fire department through the city was able to purchase one for every firefighter. Emergency management. You guys listen to us. We never had an emergency management position. 6 months ago, we were able to fill that. Well, that's actually about 9 months ago now. We were able to fill it. And she's been great. She's allowed us to work on emergency operations plans with the industry, with city, childcare facilities. She's helped out with several special events. FIFA's coming this year. She's involved with that, making sure emergency contact lists are updated, strengthening partnerships through, Philadelphia OEM, Salvation Army, local industry, Widener. So it's just long overdue, but much needed for a city of our size, and with the soccer stadium, a university, the residents, everything like that. And 2026 is going to be more of the same. More training. We got the apparatus. We got some new. I'm hoping to get some new recruits. I can talk a little bit about civil service. We'll be going out, redoing those block checks, and the open house was a little fluff piece I had in for the city show. But yeah, we'll be doing another open house where the residents can come to the firehouse and just see what it is that we do.
Great. Well, Commissioner, let me go ahead. Let's see if I can do this and actually stop sharing somehow. Are we back to are we back to everybody seeing each other, or nope, not yet? All right, hold on.
Nope, not yet.
All right. Just give me one sec, guys. Here, I apologize. There we go. There it is. It's on this screen. All right, now we're back, right? Everyone can see each other. All right,
Yep.
fantastic. Commissioner, just two quick things here, and then I do want to talk to you. I do want you to talk a little bit about, the open positions that we'll have and some of the recruiting that we'll be looking to do. One of the things I just want to make just for folks to know out here, right, is that um, it's unusual for communities to have 24/7 fire departments, right? A lot of cities have them, but a lot of sort of suburban communities do not, right? And just as the commissioner said, a lot of these places will rely on volunteers. They'll have some combination, paid drivers, some volunteers. Obviously, it's an important need for Chester. Like we need to have a fire department. It's also very costly, right? Those apparatuses are over $1 million. Mr. Sheaf knows because everyone's always hitting DCED up for grants for those, and also state reps. Representative Kazim, again, thank you very much for all of your help. Senator Kane as well, in helping us attain grants for these things. But again, it's something that Chester provides. It's a need that Chester has that clearly we have. But it's, again, if someone's asking, well, why is, what are some of the expenses Chester has that other places don't? A fire department is one of them. And it's very costly, particularly when our fire department provides services to the county, right? That's a great part of the hazmat team that generally speaking we don't get specifically paid for. And again, that's part of what it means to live in a community. But it's something that I hope people, especially people who aren't from Chester, understand about some of the services that Chester provides. So, Commish, we got a couple of vacancies in the fire department. Talk to us and tell us about what people should be looking for when these positions post and what they should do.
Yeah, not a problem. My pleasure. So we do have a couple vacancies due to some resignations and retirements. We actually have two more retirements this year. So we will have several positions that are open. We have budgeted for a couple cadet firefighters. I'll probably be asking you to allow me to hire more than what was budgeted for, but that's a conversation for another time. I figure I put you on, the spot on, live air.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem. You got to laugh. But some of them were unexpected resignations or unexpected vacancies. But that being said, so it's between third class city code and the codified ordinances with the city of Chester. We're required to hire through the civil service process. The civil service process is set up by rules and regulations by the Civil Service Commission. We actually tomorrow on the agenda is a vote to adopt a updated civil service rules and regulations. The last time our civil service rules and regulations were updated were 1993, and they were woefully outdated. So we're looking to get that accomplished. But the process going forward, if you want to be a firefighter, it will be advertised, through the city's website, social media, word of mouth. There'll be applications that'll be received. There is a physical agility test that people will have to take. While I want to say it is not easy, it's not difficult. People pass it all the time. So make sure you're in at least somewhat decent shape. Firefighting is a very strenuous activity. Once candidates complete the physical agility test, they'll go through a background check. As long as everything goes okay with the background check, and that's one of the other reasons we've kind of updated the rules. And I know Mayor can kind of comment to this. Hey, I'm 19 years old. I decided to, smoke some marijuana. I got in trouble for it. I'm now 26. I've grown up. I moved on in my life. We're not going to hold those kind of things against you. It's really a common sense approach to how we want to hire firefighters. We all have things in our past that, not necessarily we're really proud of, but, we've all made mistakes, but we're not going to hold people, accountable for mistakes. No one lives in a glass house. But so as long as you pass the background check, everything's good there. You'll sit for a written test. The score of that written test will give you a ranking. You'll then come in for interviews. The score of your interviews combined with the written test ranking will come up with your overall ranking. And then depending on how many firefighters we need to hire, if you rank number 3 and we need to hire 5, well, you're going to get a letter of a conditional letter of employment. At that point, you'll go through a medical, physical, as well as a psychological. And as long as you pass those things, you'll be sent to a fire academy where you will receive all the required training. And I'll be very clear about this too. You do not need to have any experience to pass any of the physical or written tests. Okay, they're more. It's just physical agility and cognitive. So even though you might have experience, it is not going to give you any advantage. And while it is great that you have experience, we make sure that we send you to a fire academy to that you're trained the right way because I don't know who gave you your certification. You know what I mean? So it could be a reputable training academy, or it could be, hey, we just decided to pass everyone. And then once you successfully complete the academy, you'll be a probationary firefighter for 6 months, and then you'll join a great, I can call it a career, but I would say it's a calling. And despite it being a difficult, exhausting, dangerous, stressful, dirty, exhausting job, it's still the best job in the world. And yeah, I miss it. As much as I'm thankful you guys have me here talking to you today, I'm sitting behind a desk where I'd rather be out riding a fire truck and dealing with the day-to-day emergencies. That's where the fun is.
Very good. Well, Commissioner, I appreciate the time. We'll open up to any comments or questions from the committee.
No, well, I just thank you for having me, and I appreciate you and the committee's time for letting me ramble on.
Sure. Mayor?
That's not rambling. That's important information. Thanks a lot. That was very enlightening. One of the things I think we've talked about it, Commissioner and I, is the aftermath of fires, especially these structural fires, where oftentimes it creates a blighted situation. We talk about churches or commercial buildings that burn, but they don't completely burn down, or they may leave the masonry part of it just standing. One of the things that you were suggesting, recommending a while back was commercial insurance, fire insurance for these owners. Why don't you talk about that a little bit, and maybe some of the hesitation on our end, or maybe I'm supposed to talk about that, but there's a couple blocks where you see just churches that have been burned down years ago, and there's nothing worse than being in the car with somebody when I'm touring the city and they point to those structures and say, well, what are you going to do about that? Why isn't anything done about that, Commissioner, and what's your solution to that?
Happy to speak on it, Mayor. So there are two city ordinances that deal with fire escrow accounts for insurance. It's actually state law. So any property that has fire insurance on it, depending on the size of the claim, the insurance has to be transferred into a city escrow account, and then they're allowed to draw down on that escrow account as the property gets fixed up. And it's basically an insurance policy that if, I bought my house for $50,000, I had it insured for 100, it burns down, I can't take that $100,000 and walk away from it. Let's just say $70,000 goes in an escrow account. So if I get a check for $30,000 and I walk away, the city has money to remedy the property. The problem with that is that we can't necessarily require everyone to carry property insurance. My solution, or I shouldn't say my solution, but one of the ideas, and this came out of Harrisburg, is that, and this would be done through the rental registration process, is that any residential property that is being used as a rental property should be required to carry fire insurance, because we run into it all the time that uh, a property owner will buy a property, will rent it out, and they'll have made their money and then some. The place burns down, and they just walk away from it, and the city is stuck with having to demolish the property. And to take it one step further, and I was talking to the Red Cross about this, that we need to educate a lot of our residents and a lot of the renters about rental insurance. Rental insurance, I rent. It's maybe $150 a year, but God forbid something were to happen to the property that I live in. I get tens of thousands of dollars to find somewhere else to stay or to put myself up. And we do have the Red Cross that can put people up for temporarily, but I think it's a two-pronged approach. We need to start requiring that any residential property that's used for rentals is required to show that it has fire insurance and list the city as another insured, so that we can collect that money, that if they do walk away from it, we can demo those properties without any money of our pocket. And then it's also an educational campaign to the residents of, hey, this is the importance why you need to carry rental insurance, because we see people that lose everything and they have nothing, and we give them all the help that we can, but it's just like for $150 a year, you guys would be in so much of a better shape. So I'd like to get together with the Public Safety Committee and kind of represent that. It would just be a slight tweak to our current fire escrow requirement, but tying it in with L&I with the rental registration as a part, something that needs to be added to the checklist.
Yeah, so I remember the only pushback to that idea is that as much as you would require someone to have fire insurance, and let's just say these churches in particular, because there's about 3 of them around town that have burned down. And if we try to get all the commercial properties to prove that they have fire insurance before they can get a rental registration, the fear is, and I'm sure there's some remedy to this somewhere. So that's why I'm bringing it out to the group that this is the part that needs some help. People will come in with their fire insurance certificate and they'll get their rental registration license, and nothing stops them from leaving that building, making that phone call, and canceling that policy. And, for us here in Chester City Hall, how do we manage the fact that, folks could be canceling policies after getting rental registrations, except for the fact that they have to register again the following year and show a similar document. So that's been a struggle.
There is a way, so you can require the insurance company to notify 30 days prior to the cancellation of the policy all the other insured. So there is a way around it, but it's just the city having the capacity to track that type of information and follow up on those types of things. But I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, and I don't understand why property owners would even require their renters to have renter's insurance, because if I cause the issue in my property, my landlord can go after my insurance company to recoup the money. So it's a win-win all the way around. Property owners should be insuring their properties. They should be requiring their renters to have renter's insurance. But I mean, it comes down to the almighty dollar, and if they can save a couple bucks, it goes in their pocket. So it's a lot of education, I think, to a certain point. But yeah, I'll leave it at that.
All right. Well, let me tell you, as mayor, working with the fire department is so easy because you guys really do a great job of just keeping that department intact, keeping them trained. You're always begging, and sometimes it does take a beg to get the equipment that they require in order to do the job. What I always say is you guys have to make me look good, but in order for me to look good, I've got to give you the tools that you need to do your job effectively. And with regard to the fire department, it couldn't be a better relationship. So just thank you for what you do. The troops that are out there working, I get those alerts when they go out. There's hardly a time that you guys are sitting down. All through the night, my phone is just dinging. It could be assisting police. It could be I was about to say a false alarm, but a fire alarm. It could be a hazmat situation. And I know as a result of many of the times that you're going out, you're really just being sentinels to the situation. It never is it hardly ever is as bad as it appears on the alert that I get. But you hear me call you sometimes, for updates because, in many situations, the things that you guys get called out on, could be serious, whether it's an auto accident that you're helping out on because many of you guys are CPR certified and can help in that regard, to sort of the mundane but dangerous job of bringing an overweight someone who needs to get into an ambulance and they just can't get them down from the 3rd floor. You are the guys that are called to come out and do that heavy lift, literally. So for the variety of things you do beside putting out fires, it's just amazing the variety of duties that you guys do. And that's why we wanted you to come on to the MFRAC and just give people a sense of, firefighters just aren't the guys running in trucks shooting water at fires. There's just so much variety in what you guys do. So thanks for what you do.
Thank you, Mayor.
Great. Thanks, Mayor. Any other comments or questions from the committee? All right. Seeing none, Commissioner, thank you again for taking the time. We have nothing.
My pleasure, Mr.
No, absolutely. So, no other additional things on this MFRAC. Our next MFRAC will be Tuesday, March 24th, in 2 weeks at 1 p.m. We hope to see everybody there. I hope everybody goes out and enjoys the beautiful weather, at least we're having today. And until then, I hope everyone stays safe and is well. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Have a great day all.